Hi everyone, Chris Albany, Salford Real Estate Schools. Back again here today, we're going to be talking about the Irv Formula. The Irv Formula we often use to calculate value. We've got three variables here, income, rate, and value. As long as we have two of those, we can solve for the third. So we often see it when we're using investment analysis or even an appraisal. We'll see this in the income cap approach. We often see the formula written like this here. Income over rate times value in a little triangle there. This is a good way of looking at the formula because what this allows us to do is, let's say we highlight out the I, that's what we want to solve for. What's left over? So if we're solving for I, what's left over there is rate times value. So I equals rate times value. So it gives us an easy visual there to know what we're solving for. So if we're going to solve for rate here, so if we want to know what the cap rate is, as long as we know the income and the value, we can calculate that. So now the rate is going to equal income over value. And now finally, where we're going to use this most often, especially in appraisal, is if we're calculating value. So let's go ahead and highlight the V, that's what we want to solve for. That leaves us with I over R. So value equals income divided by rate. So I, R, and V is income, rate, and value. Now some other ways we'll see these used is income is often going to be considered net operating income, or NOI, net operating income. Now when it comes to the rate, we'll often use this as a cap rate, or even we'll see the overall capitalization rate, which uses the acronym OAR. In any way, it's always going to be a rate of some sort, some percentage point. And then value, obviously value is the dollar amount, or the sale price could also be the appraised value as well. So here we have our three different ways of solving each variable there. So I over R times V, so we end up with income equals rate times value. We have our rate equals income over value, and value equals income divided by rate. So when I say divided by there, that's where we're going to look at next. So if we have income over value, we want to assume that this means, this little line here, is that always means divide by. So income over value is the same as writing income divided by value. So again here, we look at value equals income over rate. So value also equals income divided by rate. And that's exactly how we would put that in our calculator when we're going to solve for this. Okay, so now let's try it on your own now. So we're going to solve for I here. So let's go ahead and block out the I. Now how will we solve for I? What's left over? So we have rate times value. That's all that's left there. Okay, so now we've got our solution for I. Let's go ahead and solve for the rate. Again, let's mark out the R. What are we left with? We have, exactly right, the income over the value. And finally, we're going to solve for the value. So if we take out the V and we're solving for V, what are we left with? We're left with income divided by rate. Great. Okay, moving forward, now we have a question here. So what is the value of an apartment complex where the local cap rate is 8% and the net operating income is $17,000? Let's start by drawing out our Irv formula. So we've got income equals rate times value. Well, let's look at what they've already given us in the question here. So we want to know the value of the property, so we know we're going to solve for V, or value. So value, if we mark out our V, we know is going to be income divided by rate. So we have income divided by and rate. Now, let's look at our question here, and let's find our income and our rate. So where the local cap rate is 8%. So that's our rate. So we know we're going to take the top number divided by 0.08. And the NOI is $17,000. There is our income. So $17,000. So 17,000 divided by 8%, or 0.08. So we have value now is going to equal $212,500. So as long as we have both variables, we can always solve for the third one. In this case, we're solving for value. They gave us the income, they gave us the rate, so we can easily calculate that. Let's take a look at another. All right, now we have the income cap rate of a property was valued at $212,500. Had an NOI of $17,000. Okay, so we want to figure out the cap rate here. Let's draw our Irv formula again. So I over R times V. And we know we want to solve for the cap rate. So we know the rate here is going to leave us with I divided by V. All right, let's find our income in the question. Since our NOI of $17,000. So that's going to be our income. That's going to go right on top. So $17,000. All right, next we need to have our value. And they tell us here the value is right there, $212,500. So here we are, $17,000 divided by $212,500. So we can put that on our calculator now. And our rate is going to equal 0.08, or we can call this 8%. There we go. All right, final question here. Now, what is the NOI of a property that sold for $212,500 and it had a cap rate of 8%? Again, let's draw our Irv formula. So I over rate times value. And we are looking for the NOI, so we're looking for the income here. So we can go ahead and mark out the income. And that leaves us with rate times value. So we have income equals rate times value. So now we could say our income is going to equal our rate. Our rate here is our cap rate of 8%. So 0.08 times what is our value? So the value, it's sold for $212,500. So there is our value, 212,500. We can plug that into our calculator, and we end up with the income of $17,000. So that would be our NOI. Okay, so let's review here. Here's our Irv formula. We're always going to draw this sort of as a triangle with income always at the top. So IRV, Irv, IRV. So again, income is going to leave us with rate times value. If we're solving for R, that's going to leave us with I over V, or I divided by V. And finally, if we're solving for V, it's going to leave us with I divided by R, or value equals income divided by rate. And that is how we solve our Irv formula. So that is all for me today. Please do check back with us here. We'd love to get your feedback. We'd love to help. We offer live classes here in the Port St. Lucie area, as well as online. So thank you for visiting us today.